This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. We got a great broadcast ready for you guys. It's Michigan State week. We got to break down the Detroit Lions' victory over the Falcons. What does this mean for a 3-3 football team? As always, I look forward to the conversation with my guy, Adam. What's up, sir?
Doesn't it feel weird having Michigan State week? It almost feels like it's too early. And like, I know that we're into mid-October right now. Actually, we're into late October here. But it just feels like it's so early because the college football season, at least for the Big Ten, just got underway. It feels like this Michigan State game is just coming months in advance compared to when it normally does.
You know what's not fair? Look, Rutgers got a chance to redo things. They get 9 transfers. They get Greg Schiano, an old guard, someone that has been there before, used that job as a jump-off point, comes in and absolutely destroys Michigan State. It was as if the Spartans didn't practice. It was as if they went to the film and was like, all right, we got Rutgers and we're all good. 7 turnovers, and I want to start there because we always talk about the Lions, and that was good, and I just got to start with the negativity first because that game was so frustrating. Look, most people kind of had a feeling it was going to be a struggle, but this was on a whole different level because the team looked unprepared. They looked uninspired. They couldn't even line up properly. Coaching through the week should at least get you that, where you don't get 7 turnovers. You can lose the football game 31-28, a couple mistakes here and there. But 7 turnovers, that gets you to the point where you go, that's not talent, that's coaching. And so now, when have we ever seen 25-point spreads in the Michigan State game? It's embarrassing. You can't have that in your debut. Look, a loss to Rutgers, who hadn't won a game in the Big Ten since 2017, is bad enough. But the manner in which that team went out, they were like playing football in a manner as if they've never collectively figured out how to play together. And that was really brutal to sit through. And I sat through it all. And look, I'm not going to judge Mel Tucker off of one game, but you better turn it around quickly through the course of the next 7 weeks and get your football team to look like they belong on the field. Man, that was disappointing.
This is the thing. I don't necessarily think it's fair to judge Mel Tucker by this game. I think this game is more of an indictment on what Mark D'Antonio left Mel Tucker. Mel, you got to realize Mel Tucker is working with our good friend Barry Cupboard. There was nothing there for him to really work with. That offensive line is abysmal, man. Like, we talked about Rocky Lombardi in the past and how he's not the second coming of the quarterback, at least not for Michigan State. I don't think that game was necessarily his fault. I don't think his O-line did a really good job protecting him. I don't think he was helped out. And in the Big Ten, and just like in almost every avenue of football, it all starts with the guys up front. And if you don't have a good offensive line, much less a good defensive line, one, you're not gonna put a butt whipping on anybody, and 2, you're not gonna stop anybody. And I think that's what you've seen with Michigan State, and that's why you have a 25-point spread for this game this week. It's not. I don't think it's all Mel Tucker's fault. I just don't think he has guys. And then the audacity. I don't know if you've heard this, but Mark D'Antonio showed up at Michigan State's game. He was up in the press box. He was up in the suite, just kind of milling about and just kind of shaking hands, kissing babies. The way he left that program and the timing at which he left that program set Mel Tucker up to fail. And boy, did he fail on his opening game. I feel so bad for Michigan State fans, and I feel bad for Mel Tucker because he's got a bum rap here. This season is almost a waste. I really feel like he has to come in and teach these guys how to play football all over again. It's almost like having like Avondale High School. That's what he's got to coach. That's what he's got to work with while he's going up against college athletes. It just almost isn't fair right now.
Yeah, and the good thing is, at least from what we're hearing as Spartan fans, is that the linemen that Tucker is targeting are well over 300 pounds. So he's looking to restock and bring in some beefier guys to, really play Big Ten football. Absolutely, you're right. But, cuz remember, 7 turnovers. That is really, really fundamentally unsound football. That's not talent. Okay, look, you can argue that Mark D'Antonio's philosophy got outdated. He stopped recruiting the best, but we got to remember what he hung his hat on. He believed that his coaching and his system defensively would at least make the Spartans competitive. Now, this roster obviously is devoid of big end talent, and for the last 3-4 years, I think what you saw was the recruiting and hanging your hat on coaching. That can only take you so far. You got to start with a little bit better talent and consistency. So what Mel Tucker inherited, that's why everyone was prognosticating and predicting that the Spartans were only going to win 1 and 2 football games. I get it. But what I'm saying is when you go out and play, you have to have a certain level of compete. You have to have a certain level of acceptability in what you're doing and what you're putting out there. What was put out there on Saturday wasn't football. 7 turnovers, that's unheard of. Have you ever seen a football game where a team played that poorly? Okay, and so I would say this. It lends to, okay, what was the message that was delivered? Where was the disconnect? And how did this happen so that it never happens again? Losing is one thing, but losing like that, recall when Matt Patricia showed up in that first game against the Jets, that put everybody like, whoa, Sam Darnold just dropped 40 points on that defense. Wait a minute. This is something that we don't think we're going to like. And now 2.5 years later, we're now starting to see maybe a slight shift in the philosophy, but the defense still gives up a chunk of yards and things like that. So Mel Tucker, you put that on film, you're going to rack up a bunch of haters real quick. So you better turn it around, and you better at least cover the spread. That's the only goal. One goal against Michigan, cover the spread, because from what I saw, Michigan, Minnesota was eye-opening at how impressive Michigan's offense looked. It looked like a well-oiled machine, looked like an offense that understood what they wanted to do, had a swagger about them, and they just came in and said, we're going to kick the door down on Minnesota, and I was thoroughly impressed. And finally, you saw a quarterback under center for Michigan that had a little swagger, that had a little something about him, thicker, stockier, can move around. You literally saw it. Just reminded me of Cam Newton. I was like, wow, Joe Milton, where was this guy last year? Shame on Michigan. You don't put him in there last year.
He was on the bench, man.
I know, but
down the depth chart.
Exactly. Dude, didn't he look poised? I was more.
He looked really good.
I was impressed by the offensive performance because it was shaky at first. The block punt, a little bit of concern there with that defense, with how easily Minnesota started. So there's a lot of good things to talk about, and maybe even, some talk of maybe even being able to run the table if Michigan can collectively get better and figure out just a couple things defensively. I don't know if they're in the class yet of Ohio State, but they're in the class of competing in that football game. I liked really what I saw. No hype, no hyperbole. Joe Milton looks like the real deal. And if that's the missing piece for the next couple years, Michigan's going to be very, very proud of the results.
I'm gonna have you pump the brakes here real quick on going head-to-head with Ohio State. I noticed that you were on Twitter this weekend trying to get me riled up about the whole Ohio State thing, and all I did was just like your tweets and move on. Yeah. Like it and move on. I wasn't falling for it.
The ones that were like, is this season all about just one game? Well, really, it is. Actually, to be honest, supporters of Michigan actually, I think, don't even care. They're like, call me, wake me up when the game is on between Michigan and Ohio State, and then I'll sharpen my lens, because I think that's a very, very astute from Michigan fans going, look, winning 8-9 games at this point in time is not good enough anymore. Beat Ohio State or don't call me.
Exactly. Doesn't mean anything. Now, the thing that I took out of this Michigan beatdown of Minnesota is, the offense looks really, really good. But doesn't it kind of feel like we're going back a little bit to what was tried and true with Michigan, where you have a very run-heavy offense? Like, that run game looks so damn impressive. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it felt like last year they tried to throw the ball a little too much. This year, at least in this first game, it felt like they were just running the ball down Minnesota's throat. Now, whether that's what was there and they took what was there, or this is going to be the new play design for this offense, I'm not 100% sure. We're only one game in. But it really felt like they ran, or there was a concerted effort to run the ball a lot. Now, having a mobile quarterback who can stay upright, who can take a hit, and who has a cannon for an arm, those things all help make this offense look a little bit different and add a lot more layers to what was supposed to be a speed in space or a nice run pass option type of offense. So it adds another little nuance to it. But to me, watching that game, it felt like they went backwards to a system that they used to use, where it was a halfback dive, it was get the edge, get downfield. It didn't really seem like they were focused more on throwing the ball. It felt more like they were trying to use the read option, or it felt like they were trying to run the ball. And look, it was there. They took advantage of it. It was an impressive victory for Michigan, especially on offense. Again, a few problems on special teams. Again, they don't have a field goal kicker, it appears. Their defense, again, has trouble stopping basic plays. And whether that's because they're a little bit too aggressive or whether it's just the scheme that they run, there are holes in that defense that could be exploited. Now, I do want to talk about a guy. Ben Mason was absolutely a savage in this game.
Legit.
Dude, this guy is going to go to that next level, and there will be a team that will find something to do with him and utilize him to the best of his abilities. Because to me, he feels like he's a bit of a switchblade. Like, yeah, you're a fullback, but yeah, you can also play a little bit of linebacker. And yeah, you got some hands so you can catch a pass. So maybe you can be utilized as a tight end. This guy feels like he can play almost every position on the field. I was amazed at how they utilized him and got him in the offense. Now, this isn't a guy who is what you would necessarily think of a classic athlete when they say, hey, he's an athlete. They usually think of somebody who's long, lean, almost like a wide receiver or a cornerback, has a lot of speed, can do a lot of different things, has good hands. No. What you have with Mason is a guy who is big, bruising, mean, nasty, has good hands, has no problem picking you up and suplexing you in the middle of the field and then pile driving you through whatever the logo is on the middle of the field. This guy is a savage animal, dude. He looked awesome. That 15-yard penalty that he took right off rip, I wasn't happy about it, but I didn't necessarily mind it because he was sending a message. He wasn't sending a message necessarily to Minnesota. He was sending a message to his team. Like, hey, guys, we're going to set the tone. We're going to set the pace, and we're going to be physical. We're going to be nasty. We're not going to get pushed around. And if that's the leadership in this locker room, I like where they're headed. I was impressed. It was a good win. I'm not going to say it was a great win, and I'm not going to get overhyped by it like a lot of people are, but it was a good win. I liked what I seen. I really did.
Absolutely. I thought it was a great performance. I thought that going forward in regards to what you saw with Michigan, at least game one, you looked ready and prepared, and you took on a team on the road that was ranked, that performed really well. So that's all you can really ask for. In a great season opener, get the victory and a convincing victory. So now, we do got to talk about Michigan in a different light too, because as we talk about the present, did you by chance get to hear my astute observation of the contract situation of Michigan's head coach and kind of maybe where it could potentially hinder the operation? Did you get a chance to hear that really astute question from a knowledgeable and a non-biased reporter? Did you hear that?
The one that was aired on ESPN?
Dude, that was the best. You're just sitting there working, typing along, reading some stuff about the Lions. All of a sudden, like 8 people are like, dude, you just made ESPN. I'm like, whoa, oh no, what'd I do? I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't asked a Lions question that was really pertinent in a while. What did I do? And they're like, no. It was a question you asked Jim Harbaugh. I'm like, from Monday? And the best was I got the announcers to laugh because Jim Harbaugh's question, my question really simple to lay the scene was, look, Jim Harbaugh right now is the only Power 5 head coach in the entire NCAA that doesn't have a contract beyond 2021. The only one. So I said, okay, really the relevant question that everybody needs to know is there a message that you want to send recruits who may be getting told that, hey, the university may not be committed, he may be gone? Because everybody's saying that. I think Michigan lost a couple players to Notre Dame, to the SEC. So it's pretty much straightforward that, hey, some people are telling these recruits that Jim Harbaugh might not be there, or he doesn't want to be there, or the university doesn't want him there. So I bold-faced asked the question, and I should have followed up, but I was so like, sometimes you're used to like long, rambling, like non-answers that when a coach just goes, go blue, you're just like, and so I was befuddled, and then they went to the next guy. I would have asked a quick follow-up. I would have said, now that I got to be on guard. And it's all learning experience too, because when you ask these questions, you just got to assume, you just got to pay attention and not assume what they're going to say. I would have said, okay, I understand, but do you feel in any way that your contract is hindering you getting the recruits you want? And that's what I regret not following up with. But that short, quick answer got around to the papers. People wrote it up, and obviously it got on game day. And I do think it does. I think that in long term, Michigan's got to sign that head coach that they got there, because coaches, I think, will use that negatively to state that, hey, and it might not be from the university. It opens up the discussion that maybe if Harbaugh keeps getting his tail kicked in, he'll take a couple more 9-win years and just bust out and go back to the NFL. I think when you don't have the contract, I think it opens up a lot of speculation that the Wolverines don't want to be involved in or looking at.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a bit of an issue for him to have to overcome. But again, I think they probably have something done. They're just not announcing it. Remember, we're going through a bit of a pandemic here. Michigan has just had to cut payroll across the board, not just academically, but also just about everybody on the sports side. So how do you come out and how do you make an announcement that you just signed your head football coach, who roughly makes what? I think he makes almost 40% of what these sports payouts are.
Amid layoffs, amid layoffs.
Yeah. Like, how do you announce that and say, yeah, we just extended him and we gave him another raise, and he really hasn't won anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like second place in the Big Ten East. What is that? That means you're a loser. It means you're not doing anything. Maybe you'll go play in some crap bowl game where you'll get shellacked by Florida. You know, it doesn't mean anything. So I just think it's more of a timing issue. I think he's probably got his contract situated. They're just not making an announcement about it. Now, I think you are right, though, where you have coaches who will utilize that and try to play that against top-end recruits that Michigan could possibly lose, and Michigan will probably lose. It becomes one of those things where unless Jim Harbaugh is rolling up into a recruit's house and saying, hey, look, I know what Chip Kelly told you, and look, whatever he said, it's completely false. Here's a copy of my contract. I'm signed for the next 3 years. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm promising you, I can get you to that next level, because that's what they all tell these recruits who are high end. So come to Michigan, be a winner, and I will get you to the NFL, and we will win a college football national championship. And it really is that simple. I just, you can't come out and you can't say, hey, the guy who was making, what was he making, like $8 million a year is now making $9.5 million a year. And, oh, guess what? He's brought you 0 championships of any kind. You just can't do that. Oh, by the way, we just laid off 35% of our sporting staff. So, the rowing team, how you lost 8 coaches? Sorry about that. Hey, the fencing team, you know how you lost 4 of your coaches? Yeah, sorry about that. We just took some of that money and we gave it to this guy. You just can't do that as a university. It's bad. It's bad optics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of concerned. I don't know exactly if the commitment's there from both sides, because of the fact that, hey, it's good, but the heat has been ramped up. Imagine, if Michigan goes into the Ohio State game undefeated and they lose again and they don't perform well, and it's the same old thing where the offense doesn't perform well and they don't look like they belong, and Ryan Day actually runs it up again, you could have a really significant now portion of the fan base, because I haven't seen this level of negativity. You have the hype, it's there, looking at the Michigan offense. Oh, it's prolific, it has a chance to do this and that, and you hear the questions. And that's really why I asked, because it just feels like every presser you attend, there's like one question that might be challenging to these people. And I was like, man, I thought it was just a question that I wanted to know. So that's the manner in which I'm going to always operate to ask questions, is to say, okay, what do I think people want to know and what do I want to know? So I just thought that, at this point in time, when I was tweeting heavily about Michigan in a pro and in a positive light, people were just coming back with like, it doesn't matter. We've seen this before. They took a really subdued approach, for those that messaged us at least, on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. And they said, look, winning, great. It's a good thing, good sign, but call us when it's Ohio State. And that's really a testament to Harbaugh too, that the expectations now are higher. It's like, okay, you've been here quite a bit of time, beat your rival and win something. And that's where people are at.
I think it's more a testament to where Michigan fans are. They're just kind of sick of all the pomp and circumstance.
Yeah.
They're sick of, hey, cool, you beat Michigan State and you beat Penn State and you beat everybody that you were supposed to beat or that you said you could beat.
Now show us something
But you
else.
haven't beat Ohio State.
Yep.
And like that was the whole reason you were brought here was to handle Michigan State, was to handle Notre Dame, and then was to handle Ohio State. And you haven't been able to get over that hump. So again, wake me in November when it actually means something and we're at this point. This will now be what? I think they're playing in December. So wake me in December when we're playing this game, because I just don't care about it right now. It just doesn't matter to me because you haven't been able to do it. So either put up or shut up is I think where most Michigan fans are, which, hey, rightfully so. You guys should be there. At some point, the guy who is making $8 million a year, who is the face of your football team, needs to go out there and needs to do something. He just hasn't done anything. The fact that a guy like Mark D'Antonio, right? And I have a ton of respect for Mark D'Antonio. But the fact that Mark D'Antonio has played in multiple Big Ten championship games, has won multiple Big Ten championship games, has gotten to the college football playoff, and your team hasn't even sniffed it? Like, you haven't even sniffed the Big Ten championship, much less a Big Ten East championship, which is a made-up thing, by the way, guys. It's like not a real thing. Like, cool, you won the Big Ten East, now you get to go play in the Big Ten championship. Like, you don't get an actual award for being the best in your division. It just doesn't work like that. So, like, the fact that you haven't even done something that is made up is just kind of telling as to where this program currently is. And if you're part of this fan base, you should be riled up. You should be pissed off. You should want more, expect more, demand more. This is the one thing I've been saying for years about this damn fan base. Demand more, expect more, want more, and challenge your Lord and Savior who wears blue and maize, the guy who usually shows up in khaki pants except on Saturday night. Which, by the way, hopefully he sticks with those blue pants. They look good. I like them.
Exactly.
I'm not sure about you.
And he said, I don't want to be stale. I don't want to be, somebody that is like burnt meat or something that's expired. So I think he might stick with it because the khakis just weren't doing it. Weren't getting the job done. So now,
Did I ever tell you about my high school football coach?
And what did he do?
So my high school football, I went to Oxford, which is basically northern Oakland County. I played on the Oxford football team my freshman and JV year. I did not play varsity football. I ended up going and getting a job. I had other things that were a little bit more important to me at the time. I really wish I would have played varsity football my junior and senior year, but I did not. I chose not to. But our head football coach, Bud Rowley, he was awesome. A lot of the things that I know about weightlifting, I learned from him my freshman and sophomore year with all of our football training. But he was fantastic. But he had a set of game day pants, and they were about as bright yellow could be. So he would wear these bright ass yellow pants, looked almost like a highlighter, and he would wear some type of Oxford shirt, whether it be like a gray shirt with blue and yellow on it, or whether it be a blue shirt with yellow on it, or it would be a yellow shirt with blue on it. I mean, this guy had the brightest pants. You knew he was coming 3 miles away, and it would have been foggy out. You could see his ass. They were great. I'm really hoping Harbaugh tries something like that. I'm just saying. Could you imagine him on the sidelines with these bright-ass yellow pants?
Dude, I could see him with the block M all over. Those suits you see with the yellow big block M all down the thread. Why not?
Why not?
Oh my goodness! All right, real quickly, how do you see this game shaking out? I don't know. I think it's going to be in the neighborhood of a 18 to 25 point victory. I don't think they'll run it up like everybody's saying. I think that if they get out to a 14, 18 point lead in late fourth quarter, they'll turn off the Jets and they'll run the football and look to get some stats. It's going to be competitive. I think it'll be hard-hitting, but I think it's going to be in the neighborhood of like a 40-28 kind of game. Yeah,
I could see that. You know what? I think maybe this defense has a better performance than they had last week, and I think this offense, what you got going on at Michigan State, and it's nothing against Mel Tucker, so understand that, okay? I just think he was dealt a bit of a bad hand his first year. I could see it going something more along the lines of 48 to 17. All right. I think that offense puts a couple points on the board, but not a whole lot to really keep pace. And I think they maybe score a late touchdown. That's why it looks a little bit closer than what it really is. I think this Michigan offense really kind of takes off and looks really, really good against a very subpar Michigan State defense. And I just don't think you've got the pieces up front on both sides of the line to really be able to handle a coach who's now going into his fifth or his sixth year. And so he's got the guys that he wants there. I just don't think Michigan State has the pieces up front to be able to handle that. And I know the rivalry always runs deep, and it's always a little bit closer than what we anticipate, even when Michigan's down or even when Michigan's down. But I don't think that Mel Tucker has enough to really keep this a competitive game. And it's not on him. It's just what he's working with.
Yeah, it's going to be something that, usually all I can tell you guys is this. Usually the DOC would be right in front of the television. I got clients. I'm working. I'm going to cover the Lions and just work hard. I'm not going to be actively involved because it's going to be a spanking, and I'm just calling it like a bye. Michigan gets a free bye. They're going to roll over Michigan State, and hell, all I can say is this, okay? My alma mater, look how progressive they are, all right? At this point in time, you guys now are well aware the network broadcasts almost every single day. We have the capability of interviewing anybody we want. We can reach out. We have the means to say, hey, do you want to come on the podcast? So at this point in time, the network has done great things. Adam has been working in radio, has had opportunities to broadcast. I've now worked with Sports Illustrated covering the Lions. So obviously we are not just jabrones here. So across the board in Detroit, the Lions, the Tigers, the Pistons, okay, Michigan and Oakland University and Detroit Mercy have all opened the door and said, hey, now we're in Zoom. Please come on. Even Michigan State basketball. Please, here are the links. Come join. We understand, you might ask one question here or there, but you're respectful. So for the past 18 months, I've been heavily involved in a lot of pressers. I like listening to the questions and things like that. And here or there, I'll ask questions, right? Now, the last place I've been asking that has done me dirty, like I've talked about in all the interviews I go on, is Michigan State football. I am allowed to cover Michigan athletics. Right now, as we're talking, I'm staring at the computer, and a Michigan player is now speaking, and I'm seeing the pressers and everything like that. Michigan football, Michigan State basketball. Because Michigan State football is doing me dirty. They won't even reply to an email. I'm sending them every 3 weeks. Hey, I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Please let me join. Everybody, I must be sending it to the wrong person, but the sick part is I met the dude. Last year, I'm donned in all Detroit sports podcast gear, my jacket, my hat. I'm covering the Michigan game. I'm in the elevator, and I told everybody this, but I'm in the elevator, and I'm like, oh, Michigan State Communications. I'm like, wait a minute. Hey, I'm John. You see me here. I cover now sports. I really would like to cover Spartan football. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, a little cold reception, but I'm like, hey, I'm going to reach out. I really, really would like to cover the team. Nothing last time, nothing this time. I'm like, what does a guy got to do to get attention from his alma mater? Even the basketball team lets me cover them and be part of it. And I've asked Tom Izzo questions, things like that. I don't understand. You don't have to credential me for the games. That's been established. You've denied me from the get-go. But my God, to not let me attend a Zoom meeting where 50 people attend the Michigan ones, and, I see like blogs and Michigan fanboys on it. Michigan State, what are you doing? Are you that like unprogressive that you don't want me tweeting out? Like, look, right now, Mel Tucker is speaking to the media. You don't want me tweeting out what he's saying, with the audience that we've built? I don't get it. I don't know if I've said something or if I don't even think I've been that harsh. I got Spartan stuff all over the office. Michigan State has denied me because have I done anything crazy to warrant this level of disrespect from my alma mater? Ben, hook me up, man. Answer the email at least.
I really just think it's you.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I think just speaks to you and the caliber of person that you are.
Exactly.
Even your own school doesn't want you.
The basketball team does. Everybody wants me now. They see I'm everywhere. And listen, I'm like, really, if the hardest question is saying, hey, what's a message to recruits? And then a long soliloquy based on fact, if that's something you're offended by, come on, man. Bottom line is I haven't been booted once for anything I've said or done. Is it strong? Yes. Is it borderline trolling? Hell yes, it is. But there's no way we would have gotten where we are if we didn't push the envelope a little bit. I'm not disrespectful. I love the team. I mean, I'm basically saying I'm not all that I'm not all that objective. I'm pro Spartan. But at the bottom line, listen, I don't even care if they say no. Bottom line, the height of disrespect is no reply. So I must be sending it to the wrong person. There's no way I'm sending it to this guy over and over every 3 weeks, and it's not even worthy of a reply.
It's going to a spam folder.
Yeah, exactly.
He opens a spam folder. There's 56 messages from John Macaroon in there.
Exactly. The height of disrespect. My God. But when that day comes And I think I should appreciate more that I get to do these things with Michigan State basketball. It's an honor. But my God, but the thing is, too, I met the person. I said, I am here. You see me here. I'm going to message. I think I messaged the next day. So on that front, the journey continues. The one last mountain hurdle to climb. And also, too, the Red Wings. The Red Wings, at least, I'm not mad because they answered and said, we don't got room for you. That's just about it.
Bro, Red Wings are like the toughest. Yeah. I don't even understand it. Like you would think that they were winning Stanley Cups and shit. But come on.
Man, cause what was your reaction? Did you scream and yell and holler when Atlanta was jacking things up? I looked at it like this. I had to write. So I was typing, retyping. So I was like, wow, when they scored, I was just thinking, oh my God, I got to change this whole story because I had written a Lions lose story and it was good. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, when you do this, you start, kind of having both sides of it. And when the play happened, I got the positive side out pretty quickly. But I was just like, man, the number one thing that I don't like is not mistakes. Is not when, you try to do something and it doesn't work out because of effort or you're trying something new that you don't know. But my God, football players and coaches make a lot of stupid mistakes that are
dumb stuff
and unnecessary. With Hawkinson not going out of bounds, number one error, and you look at, why is Raheem Morris on the other side of things? Why can't he get a job? You want to know why he can't get a job? It's because when you're winning, and the number one thing you have to impart to your team is, hey, we're up. We're going to win. Kneel the ball. That's it. Don't go in the end zone. Not from 10 yards out, not from 5 yards out. No matter what, Gurley, don't go in the end zone. And we win the game. Kneel the football. It's really simple. Who's telling you to run this play? Who's telling you to do any of this? That was a victory. So I don't say, okay, the Lions got gifted one. So that it makes up for the Bears game. I believe they're, like I said, if you read my season prediction on SI All Lions, what I had said was I jokingly put win-loss, win-loss, win-loss all the way through the year. No winning streaks or anything like that. I had a win-loss, win-loss all the way through the season. So I had them at 8-8, 9-7. So I don't react too strongly to it. It's a win, and that's a good sign. But there's still a lot of things that are not good enough because of the fact that it kind of because, and you tell me if I'm wrong or off base here, it feels like the Lions are like a nice, fast car, but you're only driving at 40, and you're not willing to throttle down to maybe go to 60. And then when you do go to 50, you get real panicked and go back down to 40. That's what it feels like. You got Swift, you got Galladay, you got Hawkinson, yet you're running it on first and second down on multiple occasions with a 35-year-old running back. You're that scared of your defense that you don't throttle it up. This offense can score 40. They can go and play fast pace. But the nature of that defense, maybe these big lumbering dudes get tired out, and that's the strategy of, hey, we got to control it, we got to keep it dink and dunk, and we'll throw every 4 plays to Galladay. If that gets taken away, because this team should have beaten Atlanta just like they did the Jaguars, but they play these games super tight, and that's what the cardiac cats is what Matt Patricia wants to do. I just think with this roster, I think you throttle it up more offensively and just be damn with the defense. Wear their ass out. Win the game 48-35. Win the game and higher scoring. Don't take this margin for error so small that you got to wait for your opponent to be stupid to give you the ball with a minute left. That was a loss. That was a straight-up loss that was gifted to you. So I just feel like this team is not meeting its potential based on how the coaching staff wants to use the talent that's there.
Well, and I think you forgot probably the most shiny and fascinating and probably arguably your best piece, your quarterback, who seems to operate extremely well when it's crunch time, when it's a fast-paced, rhythm-based offense. Instead, you want him to slow everything down. You want to play at a much slower pace. You want him to be able to try to pick apart defenses in a very methodical pace instead of just letting the guy go, just letting him loose and letting him just annihilate and eat defenses, again, because you've got to kind of slow the game down, at least on the offensive side, to give your bigger, slower, more tired and winded defense time to kind of recuperate and regenerate some of their energy. And I think that screams to what is wrong with this team. It's not so much what's going on with the offense. I think we all agree that the offense has potential to be top 10 in this league, maybe top 12 at the low end. But what it screams to is the personnel that your head coach wants for this defense and the scheme that your defensive coordinator or your head coach wants to run, because I think Corey Unlin has done a few things that are very good for this team. You can see them using a little bit more zone defense each week, which, again, is what this team needs to use. It's what this team needs to be built and based around, not this man scheme that Matt Patricia is trying to drill into everybody's head. So what you have is you have a head coach who I think is a little bit out of touch with what he needs to do and what the new NFL looks like. Every game, if you watch every football game, they are all a race to 28 or 30 points. Whoever can get there first is usually going to win the game. You know, on Monday night, you had a game where I was watching it, and all of a sudden it was like 14-7. I was like, oh, it's a really good game. I got home from work. I ran upstairs real quick, took a shower, came back down. Next thing you know, it was something like 30. No, it was 28-14. I was like, holy hell. Next thing you know, you have these teams in a foot race to get the 30. And then next thing you know, it's going to overtime. And I think what was the final score? Like 37-34 or whatever it was. It was absolutely crazy. But you have a offense that can put points on the board. You need a defense that can help force turnovers and play fast-paced. It's got to be able to keep up with the other side. This defense cannot. That's why you get these wins against these teams like Jacksonville, like Atlanta. That game should have been a loss. Atlanta gave you the win. And thank God you have a quarterback who's not stupid and was able to take advantage of it, because you have a head coach who, in my estimation, is a complete idiot and is a complete boob. And this is the thing, too. I don't know if you heard I'm assuming you did because you have to follow the team, but the post-game presser where he was talking about the situational awareness of his football team on defense and how they were letting Todd Gurley score. If you go back and watch that, it didn't look like they were trying to let Todd Gurley score. It just looked like Todd Gurley screwed up and fell into the end zone. I'm not sure how you've seen it, but I think the head coach is a little bit delusional, and I think he kind of buys his own press clippings, which is a huge red flag for me. I'm not sure how you feel about this.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of the photos of the year, right? You see, the Lions cheering when Todd Gurley's going into the end zone, huh? That's a crazy photo. It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy scenario all the way around, but it's a tough thing. It really is just when the universe strikes and bad football happens, this is what happens. I mean, the Falcons, and this is something in football also that I don't like, is that the coaches don't want to take points anymore. Everyone's like, oh, fourth down is now something to be proud of, to be aggressive. Well, if you fail, you look dumb. So take the points. Take the 3. It's okay. It's just there's no trust in defense. There's no trust in anything, so that when, an opponent is there at the 15-yard line, they're going for it instead of kicking the 3 points. It's just bad coaching all the way around. And then, too, what's so weird is that, what emerged was Galladay makes that catch late, and he makes the catch at the 8-yard line. You spike the ball, you don't lose yards on a spike. Yet the game-ending play starts from the 11. And there's no explanation as to why that happened. And that's a mistake. Yeah. That's a mistake on Patricia's part, in that he poo-pooed the questions, but his staff didn't know and didn't scream and yell to say that, hey, you were penalized 3 yards for what ended up being no good reason at all. And thankfully, now with social media, you can message the people in charge right away, or people that know, and they answer. Mike Pereira came out and said, there's no reason why I can explain why the ball was at the 11. None. So, but at the same time, we got the victory, so you can accept it. But going forward, you're not going to have games where every time the Falcons whiffed on Matthew Stafford, they called a penalty. I think the league kind of gave the Lions a little bit of the benefit of the doubt there in some of those late hits there.
Yeah, no, I think that was more an issue of bad refereeing, but the fact that your head coach isn't situationally aware, like you said his defense was, to be able to know what the hell was going on. The fact that you ended up losing that many yards in that situation where every yard counts, every little bit means something, and you don't either question the referees, or you don't challenge it, or you don't raise a stink about it. I mean, that right there, I think, tells you everything you need to know about this head coach and how he does his job. It's just, he's not good. He does a poor job at managing the finer details of a game. And this is something that got the old head coach fired. These are things that got Jim Caldwell fired. Remember, the whole pass back and forth thing, he was a dead man walking after that. And it's stuff like this where you really have to sit back, raise an eyebrow, maybe scratch your chin a little bit and say, what the hell's really going on here? And there'll be no way that Matt Patricia gets fired because him and Bob Quinn are best buds. They're butt boys. So there's no way that Matt Patricia is going to be held to the same standards that Jim Caldwell was, which is a shame and is a crime. And if you are a Lions fan, you should be upset by that. Because if Jim Caldwell wasn't good enough, then what the hell makes Matt Patricia so much better?
Absolutely. Now it's a big game, though. 3-3. You're going up against a well-rested Colts team, 4-2. But you have had experience and success matching up against Phillip Rivers. Different team. He's coming in with the Colts team that features a little bit more offensively, better defense. So this one's going to be another slugfest. I think it's going to be a real good game again, and it's going to be a very important situation, an important game. Get on a 3-game winning streak, be 4-3. I think there's a great opportunity now to make some noise and at least get to maybe 8 or 9 wins. I don't think this is a playoff team, guys. I think that Patricia and Quinn are doing as much as they can to secure that they come back for year 4. But now it lends to this, our final topic today. Because I think Bob Quinn needs to put the pedal to the metal on this phone thing and call a bunch of other general managers and make 2 moves, one for the offense and one for the defense. Because it's not really in regards to what the Lions feature. The league itself right now is battling injury, is battling bad play, bad coaching. Teams already are deciding to sell, like the Vikings and maybe potentially the Cowboys. You could take advantage and maybe make a push where you could stay on 3 losses for the time being. You just get 2 more productive players that can get on the field, one from each side of the ball, because I could see a 10-win team. I could see a 10-6 team. And if you just invest a 4th, now, but here's the problem, though. Guys, take a look at next year's draft. Right now, the Lions only feature 6 picks. That's a problem. So I'm thinking as we speak, Bob Quinn is going to be looking to add some draft picks. But I'm like, if you're going to go out with a bang and just roll with it and pick 2 players up, give up a 5th and a 6th, and figure out later if you can recoup it and get to 7 for the class. Because you're not using them anyway. You're like redshirting the majority of your picks anyway. I mean, a rookie came out and said, a second-year player came out and said, Matt Nelson, that they told him last year, look, we like you, we want you to develop, you're not going to play this year. Same things happened now with Stenberg. That I'm sure that he got told, look, develop, we want you to learn the calls and things like that. You're not playing. So, and look, Quintez Cephas can't even get on the field. 2 games in a row inactive as a healthy scratch.
Yeah.
So I'm saying move away from that draft just for your own sanity's sake, because the team and the league puts yourself, like if Quinnen Williams from the Jets is available, is speculation and it's back and forth regarding is he available, is he not available. Look, if you can give up a 2nd, I would take him. I mean, it's better than what you've done with Kerryon Johnson. You haven't Jelani Tavai. You haven't nailed 2nd-round picks. I would take Williams and develop him and get another player. Upgrade the talent. They're close, cuz they're not like close to potentially multiple games that they could win in the playoffs, but they're knocking on the door of being a team this year that could make a push and get on a winning streak, because the competition upcoming is not the best. You just need really 2 to 3 more players that can produce weekly. That's where you're at, and it's distinct. You don't get them, and count on 7 wins.
I'm going to say this because I wish you could see my face right now with the eye rolls that I just made, because you were like, they're close. They're close. Like, no. Dude, they're not that close. They get very fortunate that they have a very bad schedule in front of them. When it comes to the very end of the season, they'll be lucky to eke out 2 wins over their last 5 games. They're going to probably be staring at something like 7-9. They'll be competitive going into December, which is what Sheila wants. These bozos are going to get brought back, and they're going to get another shot to do it all over again and screw it up even more. I don't think they're all that close. I really don't.
Okay.
On the offensive side, if we just kind of look at what you're working with, right? You've got a quarterback who's getting up there in age, and depending on who you listen to, if you listen to the practice squad, B will tell you that Stafford's got at least 5 years left in him. All right, this is a guy who's had 2 bum backs. He looks pretty decent right now, but I'm not trusting that. Okay, so that's me. That's what it is. All right, you have a guy in Marvin Jones who probably isn't coming back. You've got a guy in Kenny Galladay that you have to re-sign. You've got a guy in Danny Amendola who sure as hell shouldn't be brought back. So you don't have a lot of depth. You don't have the pieces that are going to stay here. Now, Quintez Cephas should be on the field, should be taking reps from Danny Amendola. Don't know why he's not. Marvin Hall, I think Marvin Hall is a guy that you really like. And I could see something there. That could be a guy that was undrafted, brought in, and then you get something for him and turn him into something. But again, he's got to get worked into the playbook a little bit more, and I just don't see that happening. What I end up seeing is I see Bob Quinn wasting a lot of mid-round draft picks or upper-end draft picks, like a guy like Travis Fulgham. That guy goes to Philadelphia, and look at him. He's a stud. If you play fantasy football, you know the guy is a triple OG because he just catches everything thrown to him, and he puts up numbers. You look at the defense, I think we both agree this defense does not look great. Jamie Collins, older player. Trey Flowers, I'm not really sure what you paid for with Trey Flowers. I'm still trying to figure it out. Romeo Aquara, we both like him, but again, he's got to be on the field. He's got to be an every down starter for this team, and whether it's Matt Patricia or whether it's just his skill set, doesn't necessarily have him in that role. I'm not really sure what you have as far as your interior of your defensive line. There's nothing really impactful there. Your linebacking core, Davis isn't coming back. I'm not sure what we have with Tavai. After that, what do you really have for a linebacking core? There's not a lot of pieces there.
I'm saying you got a bunch of role players that fit, but you need just 2 more talented players to join this group, and you can take that small leap that we're looking for here. So I think we just look at building a team a little bit different. I'm looking for more depth and more guys to make an impact, and I think you do that by drafting guys. Yeah. And look, I'm all aboard the sell train because I just don't think they're going to do anything. But they're not going to sell because you got 2 guys who are in a position where you think
they need to win games now, and they're going to do whatever it is that it takes to win those games so they can secure their jobs. It's almost counterintuitive. So what's best for this team does not serve what's best for Matt Patricia or Bob Quinn.
So were we wrong that we thought it was the Falcons game that was going to determine buy or sell? It really could be, again, like the Seattle game. If the Lions beat the Indianapolis Colts, go to 4-3, Monday, I think that phone lights up a little bit stronger. He hits the dial button, but maybe with the notion of buying. If they lose, I think that you could be looking at sayonara at 3-4, sayonara Marvin Jones, sayonara Kerryon Johnson, potentially sayonara Jared Davis. You could be looking at potentially moving on from some players that could secure those 3 picks that Bob Quinn would like. And finally, you had asked, and you're wondering, what's the mood of the team now with Kerryon Johnson? Well, the beat writers, my God, every single one of them, which I don't get. Every single one of them wrote a column saying, pay the man. I think that, yes, there's now a problem in that Kenny Galladay's play has pretty much warranted that he's going to deserve a fat check in the neighborhood of 18 to 20 million. Problem is, we don't know what he's asking. Maybe Bob Quinn could be offering 18 years, multiple years, and he could be like, no, I want 20. That's a starting point. Hang up every time an offer is made that doesn't include 20 million. And that's the Kenny Galladay has warranted, a nice hefty contract, but I don't think he's warranted the biggest contract in the National Football League. And I think, too, he could definitely be on the side of saying, no, I'm okay. I'll gamble on myself, and I'll get 21 on a winning team. On a team that maybe will let me shine and might be less stringent and things like that. Because, look, while he's nice, he's professional, he probably is aware that players don't exactly thrive in Detroit for many, many years. And if Stafford's not going to be there for much longer, if he's not sensing the love there, I think that it's great that you got the beat writers all saying, hey, pay me, pay Kenny. I'm of the opinion that you wait and see, and you potentially use the franchise tag, and Bob Quinn might be doing the right thing of being fiscally responsible and waiting it out. I don't think he gets a contract. I don't think the contract will be signed. My pulse is that the contract will not be signed during the year, and I think that we're staring at a franchise tag or a potential parting of the ways.
Does it cost the Lions more if they don't get this done before the end of the year?
Yeah, the price went up. The price tag has certainly gone up from August till now. He knows he's the best. The leverage is in his position. He certainly knows that if as long as he stays healthy, 6 teams at least that need a wide receiver would pay it. 6. But the Lions are looking at, you know what, we could replace his production with Cephas and one more draft pick inexpensively. And that's what I think they're thinking. So that's where we're at. Pay attention. We'll keep up to date at Detroit Sports Podcast and Sports Illustrated All Lions. But I don't think the resolution is going to come quick. I don't think he's going to get a contract, at least the offer signed. I don't think so. We shall see. But big game against the Colts. I'm leaning toward close victory. I think it's going to be a good game.
So Bob Quinn mismanages another contract signing and basically sets this team behind, is what you're saying. I like it. Let's keep him. Let's bring him back. Let's keep doing this, Sheila. You got this. You got it all figured out. Just like your dad, just like your mom, just like your brother. You got it all figured out.
Everybody's got it figured out. Make sure to follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Make sure to download his Practice Squad podcast with Brendan Riley. Really quality work. And make sure to follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Thanks for all the new subscribers. Thank you for leaving the great reviews. We greatly appreciate it. Oh, cuz always enjoy the hour talking Detroit sports. Great stuff. Hopefully we have an opportunity maybe for a new roster in terms of more talent. If they sell, oh man, the next time we will gather, we will react to what's happened. Big game against the Colts could have meaningful and long-lasting ramifications. What happens the next 7 days? And for the Spartans, just don't lay down. Just compete. Just don't lay down and take a whooping. Lose by 10, walk off the field, and let's call it a day. Cuz, let's talk next week.
Look forward to it, man. I'll see you next week.